You loved too hard. You cared too much. You gave too freely. And they made you believe that was the problem. But here's what they'll never tell you. You weren't too much. They were too little, too shallow, too unprepared, too afraid of what real depth looks like. And instead of admitting that, they blamed you for being everything they couldn't handle. Let's be clear about something. When someone tells you you're too intense, too emotional, too needy, what they're really saying is, I don't have the capacity to meet you where you are. That's not a flaw in you. That's a limitation in them. And you've been carrying their inadequacy like it's your own. Marcus Aurelius said, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Their perspective was that you were too much. The truth is, they were too closed, too guarded, too committed to staying surface level in a world that desperately needs people who aren't afraid to feel everything. You didn't love wrong. You loved fully. You didn't care wrong. You cared completely. And the person who couldn't receive that isn't someone who deserves access to your depth, because depth isn't a flaw, it's a gift, and not everyone is equipped to hold it. Here's the pattern. You meet someone. You show up as yourself, passionate, present, all in. And at first, they're drawn to it. They say things like, I've never met anyone like you, or you're so different from everyone else. But what they mean is, this is exciting, but also terrifying. Because people who live on the surface are fascinated by depth, until they realize it requires them to go deeper too. And that's where it falls apart. Because going deeper means confronting things they've been avoiding, their fears, their wounds, their patterns. It means being vulnerable, being honest, being seen. And most people would rather walk away than do that work. So they don't say, I'm not ready for this. They say, you're too much. They make it your problem so they don't have to face theirs. The Stoics understood that you can't control how others perceive you. You can only control how you show up. And if showing up fully, with your emotions, your passion, your truth, makes someone uncomfortable, that discomfort belongs to them, not you. You don't shrink to make others feel bigger. You don't dim your light because someone else refuses to turn theirs on. Let me tell you what actually happened. You walked into their life like a storm, raw, real, unfiltered, and they weren't ready for weather. They wanted calm. They wanted easy. They wanted someone who wouldn't challenge them to feel, to grow, to show up. So they blamed the storm instead of admitting they were afraid of getting wet. But storms aren't destructive. They're transformative. They clear the air. They water the roots. They make space for new growth. And the right person doesn't run from the storm. They stand in it. They let it change them. They understand that depth isn't chaos. It's clarity. Here's what too much really means. It means you asked for communication, and they wanted silence. It means you wanted connection, and they wanted convenience. It means you were willing to be vulnerable, and they wanted to stay protected. It means you showed up with your whole heart, and they only had half of theirs available. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment to things we cannot control. But he also taught that the solution isn't to stop caring. It's to care without clinging to outcomes. You cared deeply. That's not the problem. The problem was expecting someone incapable of depth to suddenly develop it just because you showed up. That's not how it works. People meet you where they are, not where you need them to be. So what do you do with this? First, you stop apologizing for being who you are. Stop saying, I know I'm a lot, or sorry for caring so much, or I'll try to tone it down. No, the right person won't require you to tone anything down. They'll turn their volume up to match yours. They'll meet your intensity with their own. They'll see your depth and think, finally, someone who gets it. Second, you stop shrinking. You stop editing yourself. You stop performing a smaller, quieter, more palatable version of who you are just to keep someone comfortable. Because every time you do that, you betray yourself. And the cost of betraying yourself to keep someone else is always higher than the cost of losing them. Third, you start seeing too much as a filter. When someone can't handle you, they're showing you exactly who they are. They're revealing their capacity, their readiness, their depth or lack thereof. And instead of seeing that as rejection, see it as information. They're not your person. And that's not a loss. That's clarity. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Someone calling you too much is something that happened. Your reaction doesn't have to be shame. It can be discernment. It can be gratitude that they showed you who they were before you invested more. It can be relief that you're no longer pouring into someone who can't hold water. Here's the part nobody talks about. The people who call you too much are often the same people who come back later. Months, years, after they've tried the shallow connections and realized they were empty. After they've sat with their own depth and finally understood what you were offering. And they'll say things like, "I wasn't ready for you," or "I didn't appreciate what I had." And you know what? That doesn't matter. Because by then, you've moved on. You've found people who don't just tolerate your intensity, they celebrate it. You've built a life where being fully yourself isn't a liability. It's your greatest strength. And the person who once made you feel like you were too much now feels like too little. But let's be honest, the hardest part isn't losing someone who couldn't handle you. It's unlearning the belief that being yourself is something to apologize for. It's deprogramming the voice that says, maybe if I were less, they would have stayed. Because that voice is a lie. And as long as you believe it, you'll keep shrinking for people who don't deserve access to your fullness. So here's what you do instead. You own every bit of who you are. The passion, the emotion, the depth, the intensity. You stop seeing those things as flaws and start seeing them as features. Because in a world of superficial connections, you're offering something real. And real is rare. Real is valuable. Real is what people spend their whole lives searching for, even if they don't recognize it when it's standing right in front of them. The Stoics believed in living according to nature, your nature, not a performed version, not a watered-down version, the fullest, truest expression of who you are. And if that's too much for someone, it's because they're living a life too small to contain it. That's their limitation, not yours. You were not too emotional. You were emotionally available in a world of emotionally stunted people. You were not too intense. You were present in a world of distracted people. You were not too needy. You had needs in a world of people too afraid to admit they have any. And none of that is a problem. It's a compass pointing you toward people who are ready. So stop dimming. Stop shrinking. Stop performing smallness to make others comfortable. The right people won't require it. They'll see your depth and dive in. They'll match your energy. They'll meet you in the places you've been going alone. And when that happens, you'll realize something powerful. You were never too much. You were exactly enough for the right person at the right time. And until that person shows up, you keep being fully yourself. You keep loving deeply. You keep caring completely. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because that's who you are. And who you are is not a problem that needs fixing. It's a gift that needs protecting. The people who can't handle you were never meant to. Let them go. Not with bitterness, with certainty. With the quiet knowing that their exit made space for someone better, someone ready, someone worthy of everything you have to give. You were not too much. You were exactly right for someone else.